Live.
Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's the Tim McKernan Show podcast. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Jamie Burkhardt, Peter Munganess, St. Louis Acura. Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. Seth Goldcamp, Design Air Heating and Cooling. Design Air Service. DesignAir.com. DesignAir.com, Jackson.
Yep.
Mark Hanna, Evergreen Wealth Strategies, EvergreenSTL.com. Come on in. The water is warm for those of you on YouTube. And Ryan D. was waiting for us?
Yeah, he just popped up. I saw that.
And I got to tweet out a cute boy?
Yeah, I mean, it's due time for a cute boy.
Okay. What's on your mind? I'm buying time right now until I can find a cute boy to tweet out.
What's on my mind? Looking forward to the Thanksgiving break.
I love Thanksgiving.
It's my favorite holiday.
Is it really yours as well? We've probably had this conversation then 4 years, and then I act surprised, but I just don't remember.
It's tied with Passover, which is obviously unique to me and my culture, but it's very similar holidays where it's centered
What's so great
around-
about Passover? Let me ask as a Gentile.
It's about because it's a holiday of a lot of eating, a lot of getting together. It's a story. It's a holiday of celebration. There's some Yom Kippur, for example, is a holiday where you're repenting, whereas Passover is a celebration of the Israelites leaving Egypt, escaping the Pharaoh, which is always is a fun story to tell. Great food, matzo ball soup, which is one of my favorites. And it's very similar to Thanksgiving in a way because it's just family getting together and kind of appreciating what you have, looking at where you've come from and appreciating where you are now. And I think Thanksgiving follows a very similar path. It's not gift giving. It's not, there's not like these conventions, social conventions around it. It's just everyone get together and enjoy the day. You know
where we go on Thanksgiving? Epiphany Bowling Alley.
Is that right?
That's where we go because I guess at this point for my parents, and they hosted Thanksgiving before I was even born at their house, and I loved it. I think I enjoy, if I'm being honest, the lack of religion and the lack of the pressure surrounding presents.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'll give the kids presents all day long. My mom starts panicking about getting us presents like right the day after Halloween. We get a text about what I want for Christmas. And I got to be honest, at this point, take what you were going to spend on me and spend it on your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Please. And I also don't want to get texts about what, I'm good at this point, so I want you to, I don't want you to have stress. So you got that going, but then with Thanksgiving, to host 30, 40 people in a house, as you get older, that's a different deal. So my brother, Kevin, who's thanked at the end of TMA every day, he bought Epiphany Bowling Lanes a couple of years ago, and it winds up being a perfect place. We bring the food over.
Oh, okay, so the whole event is at Epiphany Bowling.
But it's just my family at Epiphany Bowling Lanes. Right. So my older son is the same age as my brother Kevin's son, so that's perfect. So they just beat the shit out of each other. And you got my little 2-year-old now who fancies himself. He was at Iggy's Gobble Bowl.
Right.
Rolling a ball down the aisle, $4 swope. Not $4 swope, I should say. Buck Swope was kind enough to allow this nonsense to happen. And they'll just beat the shit out of each other for a few hours. And we got a bowling alley as the backdrop while we sit there and have libations and a delicious feast.
Hell yeah. Is it like are the actual lanes and bowls like the same size as a normal bowling alley, or is it like Saratoga where it's like smaller bowls?
Oh, I didn't even know they had that at Saratoga. No, this is regulation.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
12 lanes. I mean, it's not like
Sure. I wouldn't imagine.
Are there bowling alleys that are huge still? I don't even know.
Tropicana's pretty big. Olivet Lane's still open. I think I feel a lot of times they're wrapped into like arcades and all of them have like full bars where it's kind of like a hangout spot. But as far as I know, I'm pretty sure a bowling alley is low overhead. I mean,
maybe we should go buy some bowling alleys.
It's not like a golf course where you have to do like maintenance every single day or other certain ventures. I think you just gotta turn the lights on and get everything rocking and rolling. Clean the shoes out.
You're welcome to ask anything. I have emails here, but we got the YouTube chat up. I'm in the mood to talk. It's like when we would do balloon party, and I said, I want this one today. I want this one today. Caveat, I asked Jack, I usually have one of those that sounds like it's a live read. It's like when they open up High Noons on the No Laying Up podcast. I wonder how many people catch that reference. And they crack them in the mic. I'm certain it's in the advertising contract. And I understand. God bless. But the Bear Bells thing is not a sponsor. It's just what I eat for lunch because it's 200 calories. Maybe I eat 2. Either way, it's 400 calories for lunch.
Yeah, 40 grams of protein.
Oh, God bless America. And I always have them stored up in this bag I carry all my shit around, and I don't have one. And so I have not, I guess I've had a banana today, and I've been up since 5, and my protein shake. But I'm dangerous right now. Not dangerous in a good way. I'm a danger to myself.
Yeah.
So this is a dangerous QFTA.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
I like danger.
So if I start giving my true self, which of course is a big racist, and start giving some really racist thoughts, we can blame it on.
It's like the Snickers commercial. Right. You're not you and you're hungry, and it's like you're like
that's me right now.
You're like Papa John.
Oh my God. I got to be honest with you. I still think Papa John was done wrong.
Wow, you really are hungry.
I mean, but if you know the context of the story,
I don't know that much.
Okay, that's the thing. But then it just becomes one of these things that gets passed around, and it's like I think most people know not just to say that word in general, but he wasn't like saying, "I'll tell you another thing."
Right. Michael Richards would probably been a better example in that scenario.
That's what this was. A guy repeating anyway, but neither here nor there. We've got some stuff across the hallway, but they're not Bear Bells caliber protein bars. They're just like injecting sugar.
Oh yeah, I won't mention the brand, but you might as well just have a triple cheeseburger.
Oh my God, yeah, it's brutal,
really bad. Like if you look at the it's crazy.
I'm just not going to eat it, so I would rather just drink water and do the podcast. And I don't know what. Well, I guess a bunch of people are in here, so we're bring back the exit poll. Wow, we're going back to 2006 from Frank Grimes. My mother-in-law is hosting 35-plus people on Thursday, and it's been a chaotic lead up to it. Yeah, I don't know. I love Thanksgiving. We've only done the Epiphany Bowling Lanes thing one time, so this will be the second year of it. I get it for my parents to not have it at their house. But that's what I associate with Thanksgiving, and I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation will be since your significant other is not Jewish, correct?
Mm-mm.
So maybe you won't have what I personally dislike about Christmas, and you are in the sweet spot at 26. I should be out of it at 48, but I'm still doing it. I associate Christmas with being in the car and driving to a bunch of different I don't know when I would have thought, if you would have told me 20 years ago I'd still be doing this at 48. I want to sit and talk with friends and family and have a glass of booze in my hand and just bullshit and not be driving to, and I don't know when this is, I don't know. So anyway, that I don't like. The Thanksgiving thing, for the most part, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And I just, at some point, it's like, okay, it's this, let's stay in one spot and not do the thing where we're driving all over the place.
So on Christmas morning, are you guys doing that?
Yes, we go to my parents' house on Christmas morning, and then I guess either my house or my wife's parents' house on Christmas Day. It's Christmas Eve that can be a little
yeah.
But I've bitched about this before on TMA.
Mm-hmm.
And then Doug, who I just was praising his wisdom. I was just in a sales meeting a minute ago, like with a client, not like with the sales staff. And I said, but I've discovered in my life, and I say this sincerely, that Doug has, and it's not like, let me tell you how the world works. It's more Doug responds with wisdom, not like it's kind of like when Edgar Renteria goes out of nowhere, spoke English for the first time in 5 years to me. And he goes, well, you lost because you gambled. And I'm like, oh. Edgar Renteria out of nowhere, like the old wise tree,
Right.
Doug goes, well, yeah, you might complain about it now, but there'll be a time where you wish those people were around. And I'm like, oh,
damn.
And that's the thing. Yeah. He's right,
Totally.
Now I am holding on to, and I'll say this to my wife, and I really believe this, that there will not be a time at any time in our lives where I will look back on this young stage when kids start having the tantrums, like when I had to take my son out of the Blues Wild game last week in the middle of the second period because he was freaking out for whatever. He's 2, That's what they do. I'm like, there's not going to be a time where I look back on this longingly. And I think what happens with parents is they forget some of this shit that goes on at a young age.
Right.
I will not miss that. I will not miss that. And I don't think I will miss we just got here. Okay, we've got about 45 minutes before we need to get in the car and drive 40 minutes.
Right, you can't even relax.
I just And I'm like, okay, I'm 48 and I'm still doing this stuff. It's like, okay, that's. I don't know. If that makes me the asshole, then fine. I'm the asshole. But I'm standing up for everybody, most of whom are in their 20s,
Yeah.
who have to do this stuff on Christmas Eve and Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's an awkward spot, especially if you're not married,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And then we didn't have kids until we were later, so it's like, okay, I've got gifts. I'm good. Spend the money or save your money on the kids. Don't spend it on me.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could offer a solution, but I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking to a Jewish guy here.
Well, and not only that, but like I don't, me and my girlfriend are only dating 9 months or so we haven't had like a
You've only been dating 9 months? Is that right, really?
Maybe 10.
I'm going over and I'm
10.
shipping it.
10. Yeah, started dating like
This is interesting. Why did
End of
Jackson
January?
downplay the number of months? It's very interesting. Your thoughts, YouTube chat. Email in tmckernan at InsideSTL.com. Alice, we have a girl, Jackson. I used to have 6 stops between Christmas Eve and day. Ending that charade was the best part of my divorce. Yeah.
6 stops.
Now you got to run a pro forma to figure out what makes sense financially on that. I don't know if that would line up and I'd be in the black on the deal.
6 stops. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I mean I'm at a minimum of 4,
Jeez. Oof.
and I'm not even getting into like the time for me and my wife and my sons.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. That's brutal.
And I don't know. Here's my theory. My theory is that one of the 2 parents who are older don't want to let go of the time when Christmas was magical with that child or children.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to respect that for the older parents if you're like a good person. Now I don't need this. Please, let's not do this. And if you want to do it, that's fine. But then give it to the grandchildren.
Right.
And that's my theory behind this. And it's a really kind of an unpleasant thing to say, but that's my brand.
I respect it.
That might be the title of you always are looking for the title of the Q. It's an unpleasant thing to say, but that's my brand.
Yeah, I think we could just change the title of the podcast itself to that.
But this is how and so therefore I don't want to do this like. By the time my boys are in their 30s, I'll be like 90, so there probably won't be a problem. I don't think that's the math. It's I guess my 70s. But like, hey, you know what? I love you, and I love you. But you got to go do your girlfriend, maybe a boyfriend, whatever you got going on. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, your boys will be on like a similar. Your oldest son will be on like the same path as me with my dad. And I can tell you right now, my dad is. If I said I can't, whatever, don't care. If you come. Hang out. If not, I get it.
Absolutely. Where, as you might imagine, my father is.
100%. Totally. Yes.
And you want an impression. That's what you want.
I like it. I like anytime Senior gets to make an appearance on TMA or here.
It's like, like with my mom with the gifts. Like I saw it. Like I opened up. There's a big group text, and I'm like, okay, what do we got going? Mm-hmm. And it's, hey, send me gift ideas. I'm starting to look, and it's like, I'm, 48 years old.
Right.
Just please don't. The gift would, and I always say this, the gift would be to not get me a gift, not because I don't want to have to like come up with something, but for the peace of mind I'll have that you can cross me off the list, and you can cross my wife off the list. The dollars you want to spend on us, spend it on our sons and your other grandchildren. I'm good. And you stress out on what to get me. I don't even know what my wife and I are at a point, truthfully, where we don't get each other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like, hey, our anniversary was a week ago today. And I'm like, you want to go to this particular location for a nice thing? I just signed my contract. So I'm like, all right, we took care of everything. And hey, sister, you earn this just as much as me, even though obviously I'm the hot, talented one.
Right. And so you guys went to Big Boy.
We went to Big Boy. That's exactly right. Like Shoney's? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, with the big guy.
Yeah. Is there a Big Boy in the St. Louis area?
Not anymore, if there was one in the first place.
I think there was Shoney's. But anyway, I'm like, hey, this is our anniversary. But I'm like, I'm not going to like try to. So then that way you can pick out what you want.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same way.
And I'm like, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. If I want something, I go and I get it. But my kids don't have that opportunity, so spend the money on them. I really feel I feel so strongly about this perspective too. What is it? What is the name of the podcast?
I know it's unpleasant to say.
Unpleasant to say, but that's my brand.
Yeah. Looks like the nearest big boy is in Alpena, Michigan.
Alpena!
Yeah,
that's our guy. You remember Alpena?
I sure do. Great guy. Is there a Sizzler still around?
We go in Sizzler. White Man Can't Jump, 1992.
We go in Sizzler. Yeah, where's the nearest Sizzler?
I thought Sizzler's kind of like in and out. It's more of a West Coast thing.
West Coast thing. Damn it. Well, we can't go there.
Where's the closest Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles? Oh, it's only in L.A.
Venice,
I don't know what you're doing here.
Venice Beach. Well, I thought, you're taking your girl somewhere special. You go to Sizzler or Big Boy. I don't know where these places
are. Let's see. Bear Bells are glorious. The Choco Caramel is my favorite. It's for real. I'm telling you, I'm operating on the premise. It's like the sleep pills that are probably taking years off my life.
Sure.
What may happen with how many are losing weight, I have a feeling at some point within the next handful of years we'll be hearing things. Paying the piper. I feel like we're going to be paying the piper on the fact that we're basically eating candy bars with nutrition that is hard to believe, but they taste so good. It's the only time I ever have a candy bar is when I eat my lunch, except it's a protein bar.
Yeah. Well, RFK is going to clear all that out.
That's what's going to happen?
Apparently.
Well, either way, I don't have one, and so I'm doing a risky podcast here.
Hungry pod.
I'm doing a hungry podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to go into whatever the people want to talk about.
Sure.
I am. So if you got something, I'm the and the people are here. The people have So how does this work? They get a notification that we're live and then they jump in, or is it my cute boy tweet?
It could be that.
Thank you.
If you are subscribed and notifications on, then yes, you get a push notification anytime we go live.
Since we started at 101, I've noticed a lot of new followers on Twitter waiting for me to actually give a take. And they've just got to be so just confused when once a week a cute boy gift pops up on their timeline.
Yeah, inconsistent once a week too. It might be Tuesday, it might be Thursday. Who knows? But I'm gonna get. Yeah, I'm sure that if they're on a midday, maybe they just use the bathroom after lunch.
It's
excited to see it.
It's like the caller last week who called in about when I said I kissed Doug during the commercial break, and then he said something like, "But then you guys also talk about each other's butts."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "There's that Pearl Jam song. This is not for you." And I'm like, this is probably where. And I'm not a mass appeal guy.
No.
Nor do I really want to be a mass appeal guy. So if you're waiting for me to I'll tell you another thing about this Arenado situation, this is not what you're going to get. You're going to get what appears to be a 21-year-old gentleman holding up his teddy bear and wiggling it at the camera and then embracing it and then seductively looking. That's what you get.
I'm trying to see what.
And it might throw you off a bit, but that's who I am. Speaking of which. This is actually an endorsement of sorts, although they're not an advertiser. The Scott Van Pelt Stanford Steve podcast makes me so happy. I love it. I want to do a podcast like that.
Do they do it every night?
No, absolutely not. And I'm like, why can't I do that? I mean, I can, but because Van Pelt works at night, so what he does during the college football season with Stanford Steve, they watch all day long. And then they just bullshit for 90 minutes. I think sometimes they're recording. He lives on the East Coast, so the Eastern time zone, at 1 or 2 in the morning. Jesus. But his gig with SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt is to do late night shows. Right. So it doesn't for me. It would. I didn't go to bed till 12:15, which sounds like nothing. This past Saturday, and I was hungover because of it, not because of booze. Right. I had a couple glasses of wine at Paulie Motto's, but. Because it's so out of my, how I go to bed. And then I felt terrible all Sunday because of it. So I couldn't do that. And then at this point in life with having young kids, I wouldn't be I'm sorry, from September through the end of November, I've got to watch all the college football games. But I love it. Yeah. And that is why, and fortunately, now you're actually keeping track when it comes to college football, I do pretty well with the gambling. To the point that I'm maybe I should do something, just isolate on the games that I like and not go, no, fuck it, I'll also throw this dumb shit in a parlay or something stupid like that. But anyway, I love that podcast, the Stanford Steve and Scott Van Pelt. It's not because it's about college football or a billion college football pod. It's just a positive, not necessarily positive, but it's an energetic, honest.
I love Stanford Steve.
Bullshit session with some knowledge in there. It's just. I think I'm a Scott Van Pelt, Stanford Steve Lemming.
Yeah, Stanford Steve is so good.
Yeah.
I think
Sounds like you're not a Scott Van Pelt guy, I noticed.
big SVP guy, but I don't I don't watch the Sports Center, the SC, Scott Van Pelt, Sports Centers.
Well, I mean, the Monday night one is all about the Monday night football game, and I'm just like fording through that this morning, and I got to bad beats. How was Ryan Day not included in bad beats?
Yeah.
Now, I won money because of it, but that is a brutal beat when he ran that touchdown in, and that wasn't included. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know how that wasn't, because it took him over.
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect bad beat. It's for the game of the week.
Was that the total over or the team total over?
Total over both. But covered my team total, and then my buddy who parlayed upon my counsel on my loving Tennessee minus 40 against UTEP, which I'm sure you know my reasoning for that. That was in the category of free money.
Yeah.
Tennessee's number 13.
Skull Pound.
Heupel will run it up.
Yes.
All these guys are running it up. In Bad Beats, Shane Beamer ran it up on Wofford.
Really?
Dan Lanning ran it up on Michigan. It's kind of like, hey, we got to do what we got to do to put up style points. You're on the field too. Right. I don't know. Here you go. Right. That's what's going on now. So these underdogs that you might have been like, oh, they're not going to beat them by them. They're going to take it easy on them. Now, I mean, all these guys running in touchdowns in the final minute.
Yeah, what always scares me about those massive spreads is like one bad snap that gets recovered on like their end, and then you run one in, and one touchdown can really screw up. Like
it absolutely can.
Spread.
But when you have these teams, can probably call out their total. If they want to get to it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so when I knew the situation, which everybody did know, that, and Heupel will run it up, as he did with Missouri, I'm like, oh, God. If you would have presented that one on TMA, I would have been better prepared. And I didn't even know it had started. I was monitoring the Indiana-Ohio State one, win that bet, and then I'll take that, and then I'll put on Tennessee. And then I look and I go, oh, fuck, Tennessee's already up 14-0, which I'm happy about, but I'm like, I didn't get a chance to fire a bet. But they were only up 14-0, like early in the second quarter, so I was able to live bet it at 35.5. They actually lowered the number, but it went off at like 40.5, 41.
Yeah. I feel like a beatdown at the beginning of the season, like the team that's doing the beatdown usually is in the 42 or 49 range. And at this point in the season, it could be in the 50s or 60s if you're not careful.
So I guess I got to. How do you feel about the A&M Texas game this week? It started at 6.5. It's down to 5.5. It strikes me as scary obvious that A&M is the play.
A&M
is
so inconsistent. They're so inconsistent. I don't know what.
But what is Texas? This Texas thing is kind of an odd. The Texas hype is based on them going to Ann Arbor when Michigan was something that they clearly were not.
Yeah, they just have so much talent defensively.
They do have great talent defensively. I agree, but that game at Kyle Field at night.
Yeah, Kyle Field that might actually be tougher during the day. That's like one of the weird ones where it actually could be a little because they're like weird and corny.
For this game, they've been
this is different.
Years.
This is a different story.
When I saw that at 6.5, that was like, oh, okay, we might need to alert some people and see if we go heavy. No, because the public is the fact that A&M is plus 17,500 to win the national championship. Now I want to make this clear when I say this, and I think if you listen to this podcast, you kind of have an idea of where I come from on this shit. It's not like A&M's going to win the national championship. That's not what I'm saying. But if I can put $100 down and win 17,500 on something that can realistically happen, then you got to consider it. It's about the upside play. That is kind of how, from an investment standpoint, who do I think is going to win? If I got to pick, I'll go Ohio State, but I'm only getting plus 250. Right. So what would I rather put my $100 on? The A&M one all day long, even though I recognize, you run a simulation of the situation from now until they crown a national champion. How many times out of 100 does A&M win the national championship?
2 at best.
Yeah, okay. And if we're operating on that premise, and 2, I know you're saying at best, but okay, then that means 50 to 1, which would mean plus 5,000. Yeah. You see where I'm coming from? That's how you actually play this game. And so therefore I go, they're telling you it's not going to, 17,500 on a $100 bet, 175 times. I don't expect it to happen. They lose this Saturday and it's over. Right. They lose next Saturday to Georgia and there's a good chance it's over. But wow, that will be a discussion. And I really think that could happen, by the way. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, because I think A&M is going to win the game against Texas, number one, and which means they play Georgia, and then A&M doesn't go in, even though they're in the SEC championship. And then people will go, well, they wouldn't have played in the SEC championship unless they earned their way in, and they wouldn't have had 4 losses unless they scheduled Notre Dame. So now we're not going to schedule anybody in this current format.
Yeah.
And so that becomes the discussion point.
SEC-wise.
Georgia's going no matter what.
Yes.
They cannot, and again, they can't not have them go because you can't penalize people for this championship game, which is not about integrity. It's about the television money. That's the situation. So anybody who would have been in pre-conference championship game will remain in because they can't fuck up the conference championship games because of the money. I'll put that. I don't know how I can bet it. You know, it's kind of like the Jim Montgomery thing. I'm like, I'm telling you, this is going to happen. I wish I could bet it somewhere. The Biden thing. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I wish I could bet it somewhere. As it turned out, I could on Bovada, and I didn't get the damn thing in there. All right, let's see what we got here in the YouTube chat, Jackson. Can someone get Tim some Lamba? I did have Lamba. Have you ever been to Palmanos?
Mm-mm.
You got to make that happen.
I know. I got to go a couple spots. I haven't been to Louis either.
That isn't as easy to get into.
Sure,
That'll put the man to the test.
No doubt. But I got to go both.
All right.
Yeah, got to hit both.
I want to take care of you for the holidays. I'm going to see if I can pull off some reservations for you.
Too kind. You know what you are? You're too kind.
I think you're being a smart ass, and now I'm not going to do it.
I'm not being a smart ass.
I'm not going to do it.
That's not my brand.
I'm going to send you to the White Castle down on Hampton and Chippewa.
The Sizzler?
That used to be there until somebody drove their car into it, kind of like the Windsor Inn.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Then it became a Fox photo.
Yeah.
Which I believe is what Michael J. Fox drove through in Back to the Future. Somebody will look that up, though.
That sounds right. I thought he drove through a barn. He ended up in a barn.
I'll take Cliff Bars as my guess.
Oh, he's talking about in there.
That's in there? No, I know what you're thinking of.
Oh,
and I've actually eaten one of those things. It's not Cliff Bars, obviously. It's not Bear Bells. Like on a golf course when I'm starving and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not playing well. I got to eat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wind up losing. God only knows how much money here today. And I feel worse after it, you know?
Yeah, oh, it's awful.
It's
crazy. It's like worse than a candy bar.
I can't, and it's called the protein bar.
Because there, by definition, is protein in it, but there's also protein in a cheeseburger.
That is correct. I 100% get things from my mother-in-law that I'm like, if you want to give me something, let it just be a gift card or a charity donation. The thing about my in-laws and my wife, she inherited this from them, which I obviously don't have. They come up with the greatest gifts. Right. My wife, I'm like, oh, it's not like it's expensive. I don't want it to be expensive. It's like it was thoughtful.
It's like they know what you want without you having to say it. It's
right.
Like, yeah, it's
and I'm like,
impressive.
you know, and they care.
It's a skill.
Oh, it is. It's a beautiful talent.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful talent. I'm sure it'll alarm the audience to hear that I don't possess it.
My girlfriend has it.
Is that right?
It's impressive. It's really impressive.
Good afternoon. How are we doing today? That's from Toy Maltese Mafia family.
Doing good. On the present thing, it's really weird, but I bet people in my age range can agree with this. Like I would almost rather get like daily household things that I hate paying for. I hate paying for toilet paper and paper towels because growing up, these things just appear. I didn't even know they costed money, and so it cost money.
Yeah, wow, that was very
very.
I would have stopped my 7-year-old on that one. And I was like, did I hear that right?
Yeah, it was very Clayton High School of me. No offense to
Broncos taking
Greyhounds. I just don't like paying for that kind of shit. So if I got like 3 36 packs of paper towels and toilet paper, I would be like, oh, this is great. Like shit I just don't want to pay for. Or Tide Pods, like stuff I just hate, because you go to Target and you buy all that stuff.
You need
it's like $70. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe I would pay $70 for this shit.
Let's see. Hope the Gambling Podcast is making strides. Yes, as a matter of fact, I had a meeting right at 11 o'clock with Tommy Mattern, head of operations here at Hubbard Radio, on the Gambling Podcast. Let's see. Give him a top $10 gift card to Lion's Choice. That's from Eric Bishop. I don't know. Is that you?
I'd take it $10.
I haven't had Lion's Choice in a while, have you?
Been a minute. But it's
how's Lion's Choice doing?
Good.
How about that whole deal?
There's one right by me in Brentwood there, and I just don't go to it. And I feel like I should, but I don't know. It's like when I'm letting it rip, my first thought isn't Lion's Choice. What is your first thought? Pasta or burgers or something like that.
Where do you get pasta from, baby? Where do you get pasta from?
Canetto's when I live on the hill.
Oh, that's a nice play.
My spot when I lived on the hill.
That's a nice play. God, I wonder if I'll do that tonight.
It's a good play, man. Got a little
is it
salad
open?
Action. Oh yeah, it's only closed on Mondays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pick that up.
A little salad action, a little pasta, and talk about
kind of
affordable.
craving that kind
Salad
of
is
salad.
so
That's
good.
the only place I really get salad.
Grassi's.
I used to get it at Kiemel's as well. I went into Grassi's last week, and the boys were all excited about the new show. I was, they, because they're TMA listeners, and then I guess one of them had done a sound story and connected him with Chairman Kurt because he had something had happened with he'd lost the link, I guess, for the sound story audio.
We saved that forever.
So we saved that forever. Absolutely. Let's see. Jackson took some shots from the fast lane yesterday. Oh, wow. For not getting the hockey question in on the gauntlet. Totally unwarranted for our Prince. What happened, Jackson?
I don't even know what the hell that means. What do you mean, get the hockey question in?
On the gauntlet.
I'll listen to the gauntlet from yesterday, and I'll try to pull some audio. I don't know why I would take any shots.
Well, if there's ever a company gift exchange, I'll know what to get Jackson. That's from Tony F. I hate that I don't live in St. Louis and can go to these places. So many great places around the area I want to hit. Yeah, I get that. The brief time I lived in Little Rock, I would crave St. Louis foods.
When my freshman year of college, I felt like food didn't taste as good.
No.
Before I was like, what are they doing down here where food doesn't taste as good? Now, in fairness, I had some outstanding food down there eventually, but you do miss kind of it's just nothing about it except for the location you're in. You're actually missing the location more so than the food. I feel like the food's pretty much all the same.
I'm ready. If you want to get me with a hard hitting question, I'm in the mood to go today. But if it's not there, I'll go to the email file. So those of you on the YouTube, the fact that 27 are here, and I just said to Jackson about a half hour ago, I said, hey, you want to do QFTA? Because I'm like, I can't do it on Thursday or Friday.
Right.
So I better do it today because I don't feel like tomorrow, it's kind of like the start of a long weekend. Hey, you want to sit here and jack each other off in the studio? I don't think that that's the move. Yeah. And if we are, we're going to do that off air.
Right.
Thank you.
But maybe still on camera.
Thank you. That's
just
correct.
mics off.
So if somebody wants one, lay it out there. I mean, I said to Jackson, what did I say right before he started the podcast? There was a lot. But what did I say about Doug Armstrong?
Oh, love the way that this whole thing has gone down.
I absolutely love the move. But I realize it's a tough move to make. But what does he do? All right, I'm going to be available on a chat for the media as long as you want. Ask me anything you want.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you argue with that? With a guy making himself available without some media relations guy over his shoulder when they hear a tough question, like what happened with Malik Neighbors. There was a media relations guy right, okay, maybe time for one more.
Yeah, sweating bullets.
So, hey, anything you got, I'm happy to tend to here on the podcast. Or you can just email it to me, tmckernan at InsideSTL.com. All right, I'll go into the email file. Howdy. Just wanted to say I'm really enjoying the new version of the show on 101 and the dynamic that you guys have with Martin joining the group. If I had one complaint, it would be ... Just kidding. No complaints. I'm sure that the show will continue to evolve, and I trust you guys will continue to let it be awful. What I really want to ask is a public figure, have you ever played the Do You Know Who I Am card? And if so, what were the circumstances? Blit, Tiger, Blit. That's from Not Colorado. And P.S. I'm enjoying the show. Jackson... I can't even ask the question without you. I have to tell you, I'm honored the fact that you know that that's so not in my makeup that you can't even get through me even going to you to ask the question.
I'm just imagining different scenarios where you tell the person, do you know who I am?
What scenario? I don't even know what scenario it would even cross. It's not even within the realm of, I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, the famous one I feel like is the guy who played Shooter McGavin. I think Christopher, can't remember his last name, so I shouldn't even try. As getting pulled over by the cops.
And he said, do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am, Shooter McGavin?
Did it ever? I didn't know that happened.
So funny.
There's a story, and this is not an anchor in St. Louis. Anybody would guess their name, so don't even bother. Somebody that like me, Doug, and Martin would know. But that and it wasn't even a pulled over for booze thing. It was a zoning thing. And he was saying, do you know what? And I'm like, there's just going to be these wise tales, especially in smaller cities, about local on-air personalities. And I'd love to know what's out there. Maybe I don't want to know. Actually, I don't really care. So if you got one, feel free to share. That's associated with me. Because I'm just in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that this guy was a news anchor. I know him. There's no way that he said, do you know who I am?
Right.
But things just get passed off as you know,
Yeah,
is truth, and then you don't know, or you don't know the person. And because I remember hearing this shit when I was growing up, and you like looked at on-air people as like celebrities,
sure.
and so then it became like I don't know, the right gossipy thing to say is, oh, well, did you hear about, you know? And then I look back on it, and it's like in my youth, I was judging people based on like this one-off stupid shit, gossipy knitting circle anecdote, you know. But anyway, Jackson's laughter answered the question for me. I have never, and I can't imagine a circumstance. I can't where I would say, "Do you know who I am?" First off, because I don't think anybody does. Number one, but number two, like, what a fucking asshole you'd have to be to ever have that. I would feel bad if it like crossed my mind to say that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like there was a Zach Bryan clip where he did something like that. Like, do you know who I am?
It was. Are you going to go back on Zach Bryan?
No. I've checked out of that whole thing. Checked out of that a long time ago.
I feel like it pops up in my TikTok every once in a while.
Yeah.
Somehow I'm in all of my TikTok. Yesterday was Monday Night Football touts. And I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Because I know I never stop and like go, oh, you got something for me tonight?
Yeah.
Holy shit. But the Zach Bryan getting pulled over, it wasn't do you know who I am? It was
You're like, gonna regret this or something.
No, it wasn't that either. It was, I don't know you and I don't necessarily want to say where I live. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
But I mean, at the same time, if it's a police officer, it's kind of like it doesn't really matter if you're famous. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in the latest in the Zach Bryan thing.
Don't know. Checked out. Can't do it all.
Is that still going on? I don't know. Like I ignited you 2 weeks ago when it somehow came up, and again it bothered you so much that you're like, please don't talk about it.
We talked about all these self promoters are janky, and I can't.
So who's the self-promoter here?
Everybody involved is self-promotion.
I think that was a cop-out answer.
Yeah, I think. Well, maybe probably not Zach Bryan. Probably Brianna. I don't know. I don't want to like. I think these are like such personal details about people's relationship that I feel like uncomfortable hearing about.
Like, but I mean, I guess that's the business model is. It's like if I were on The Real Housewives, which I'm interested in being on.
Sure. Yeah. It's just as much as you'd like to tell people, do you know who I am?
And then I went through a divorce, and then I'm like, well, I'm not talking about it. That would kind of be fucked up because my whole brand was built on talking about that shit.
Right.
So in a way, I understand it. I don't know. I don't. If when that stuff pops up in my TikTok, I like hit the phone so quick.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in it.
You know what I mean? It's like when the Mark McGuire cockpit comes in through the text inbox. It's like you know, same thing. I'm like, oh God, something from that world. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, because I don't want the TikTok algorithm to be like, oh, he's interested in this. Mm-hmm. But hey, obviously people are. So God bless America. Doesn't affect my life in any way. But for example, let's lay it out there. If my wife fucked around on me and then all I did on this podcast, because it'd be a little weird if I did it on 101.
I'd be here for it.
And I just bitched about her the whole time. I think at some point people would be like, okay. That'll wrap her up, land the plane, you know.
Right.
And don't you have 2 kids with this woman? I mean, you know, and then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I don't know. I am learning about it through you, and then when we talked about it, it activated the YouTube chat. But yes, that's not. Yes, I'm considering The Real Housewives, and also, do you know who I am?
Yeah, trying to pull that card more.
That's right. Let me go back into. It's funny. I love White Castle, and my family that lives in St. Louis makes fun of me saying that's like craving McDonald's. Personally, White Castle is the bee's knees. That's from Eric Bishop. I cannot tell you how absolutely thrilled I am that Martin is back. That's from Eric Bishop. God bless America. Thank you. Does the contract mean the show will be around for a few more years? Congrats, Tim, and your wacky cast. LOL. Yes, I guess that's what it means. Yes, but that's I signed that last Tuesday, but it was a weird spot because it wasn't done in time for us moving to 101, so we had to operate in the trust tree. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think it would necessarily be real good form to go, well, that's not the way you want to do something. So we operated in the trust tree and signed it last week. BCF is my white whale. That's from Chairman Kurt.
Brianna Chicken Fry.
Oh, and what, like Chairman Kurt, that means you want her on?
I think, I can't tell if he means like interview or like wants to marry her. But Chairman
Kurt, call on in. I like this one. I'm kind of in. I'm in on this conversation right now. With the St. Louis talk recently, so this has been on TMA, which was not the intent, but I like the conversation. I like it when it's not just like, downtown's not safe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I kind of feel like that's, I don't know. That isn't stimulating to me. No. It's knocking in a 1-foot putt, and like, I'm not interested. It's tweeting out like bait, So MD 2020 asks, with the St. Louis talk recently, what would a realistic time frame be on St. Louis growth redevelopment? My honest answer is I don't know. I truly believe, and I don't know if you share this view. Like, I think I'm left of center, and I think you're further left than I am. I think it's
accurate.
Yeah, but I also have some, like, right of center perspectives, and I am not interested in being in anybody's camp, per se. But then that also kind of makes you alienate everybody, also.
Yeah.
And what is the title of the podcast today? I know this is unpleasant.
I know this is unpleasant to talk about, but that's my brand.
Right. Yeah. It truly comes from the leadership at both City Hall and also in St. Louis County, but then also somebody going, I don't fucking care. Merge isn't even the right word. St. Louis City needs to become part of St. Louis County, or this is just what I'm just going to do this because I know this is the right thing. But that isn't necessarily really democratic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It will not be popular. Now, if by the letter of the law, that person has the ability to do that, it will be so unpopular at first from some in the city and some in the county. But I do think that is a step. So I think the first step is you need somebody in office who doesn't really need the job. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. Who doesn't have aspirations to become a congressperson or a governor.
Used as a stepping stone.
Correct. And doesn't care about it being unpopular, is doing what they believe is right based on knowledge of seeing what happened in other places, because it's going to be unpopular. But in order for that to happen, you have to elect somebody who is in that mindset, and I don't know if that's because that person is going to go, okay, I'm going to make, I don't even know what they make, $150,000, $160,000, which I understand is a lot of money, but for the person who is in the position of I don't give a fuck, $150,000 isn't going to change their life. I promise you that. And I'm going to get scrutinized and have people make shit up about me so I don't win. But fuck it, I'm willing to do it, and my family is going to have to put up with. I mean, it's kind of a kamikaze life mission,
mm-hmm. Right.
So whenever that happens, MD 2020, that's when I think it can happen. But once that happens, I think I go back to, I think I might have said this to Bob Wallace today on TMA. I do believe that St. Louis is going to experience a resurgence, and it's not based on hope. I really do believe it, not because of, like, I feel like it's on the verge of happening, so much so that there's so much already here, and now it's going to be so cheap to do business here relative to other places of comparable size that from a dollar standpoint, there is going to be an opportunity here. But the opportunity has to be, climate has to be conducive to it, and that comes from the leadership. So until the leadership domino falls, I don't know when it will happen.
Right. So I'm in the same camp. Like,
so you do believe this as well?
Oh, everything you do at downtown right now is a Band-Aid until they become one entity. Until the city and county become one entity, everything's a Band-Aid. You can't get real change done with how things are currently set up. There's a reason that no other city that's like big or flourishing has this setup. It's just totally unique to kind of St. Louis in terms of big metro areas. And there's nothing I don't think there's anything you can actually really tangibly do to change the fabric of downtown or the city until those two entities become one.
I don't, and you also need somebody who kind of in mind, so for example, in St. Louis at this particular moment, it's not as simple as a binary thing. So it wouldn't be fair if I were tweeting this. I guess it would be, but you're either in the I feel bad for Drew Bannister camp or you don't. I don't feel bad for Drew Bannister. I don't give a fuck. You know why? Because Drew Bannister's still getting paid like he's a head coach in the NHL, and the only reason he was a head coach in the NHL was because the Leafs lost to the Bruins in Game 7. Period. And if you didn't think that was the case,
yeah, I think the last,
I mean,
last 72 hours.
I think it's pretty clear now.
Yeah,
that's what I always go. That's what the money's for.
right.
Do you want to win, or do you want to win people with the feelings? And that's, to me, maybe it's an East Coast thing, even though I've got zero ties to the East Coast. But sometimes, in order to advance, some people don't get to come along. I don't know what to tell you. I'll be in that camp someday. I know that's the deal. That's the deal. Not everybody gets to play on the team. Not everybody gets equal minutes. If you really are on board with capitalism, that's the deal. And so I'm sorry that some of these municipalities are going to have to go away, and your $35,000 a year job to be mayor is going to go away. Fuck off. You know, we're not going to be held hostage by this shit. And if that makes me, as the leader, unpopular in your little world, and you want to gang up and make up shit about me because you don't want me to get elected, so be it. But I'm going to come back over the top and come after you stronger until we get this thing settled. And I think that is one of the biggest walls between St. Louis and achieving the resurgence. So you need somebody who's essentially going, yeah, fuck off. I don't know. Fuck off. I know what we need to do. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be unpopular. I don't care. I'm not running for office, even though I am running for office. Yeah. But I'm not running for office to run for an office beyond, take your pick of whatever it is, St. Louis County Executive or St. Louis City Mayor. And I think it probably needs to be county executive more than it needs to be the St. Louis City Mayor. You know what I mean? Because the St. Louis City Mayor can't force the county to take it in.
Right, yeah.
And the county executive is going to have a bunch of people who are going to go, what the fuck is this? You know, we don't want this because they view downtown St. Louis. But I think it lifts all the boats.
100%. I think it totally does. I would love if a political candidate's campaign slogan was, I'm not running for office.
Yeah. It's a very liberating thing, though, when you don't really.
Yeah, right.
I understand. You don't understand. That's fine. That you don't. As I talked about with like the TMA State of the Union thing a few weeks ago. I can't get mad at people for not having information.
Right.
How can I want them to care, so I understand. Can't get mad about that. And hey, trust me, it's going to work. That isn't really a great slogan either. But I know the thing that I think separates St. Louis more so than some of these comparable markets who have experienced these changes is St. Louis, in my opinion, is actually run by people. It's like when Bob Wallace brought up the billionaires. Mm-hmm. And he said, we actually have a lot of billionaires here. But the difference is most of them don't want anybody to know about them being billionaires. It, to me, is the ultimate orgasm. I've got enough money and nobody knows who I am. This is fucking great.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I have zero interest in anybody knowing who I am, which then goes back to why you laughed when do you know who I am would be asked. But you have this, like, it's right in between like a handful of roads too, and you know where they are. Mm-hmm. Because you went to high school.
I drive
close.
those roads.
Right. I know these roads. I drove these roads.
Yeah. Oh, I know where they are.
And that's where it is.
Big front yards.
And for them, well, it's this place is good enough for us. And besides, we're going to this particular location in Southern California or South Florida when it gets shitty weather here anyway. So whatever, we don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So it works for us. And then we actually, because we have this power associated with money, we are able to actually stop progress ourselves for a region of 3 million people. So I know people like to picture like the mayor of name whatever municipality that you travel through, one of the hundreds you travel through on 170 to get to the airport. But that's not the only problem. Some of them are people you don't even know who they are, who actually have power, and they have ridiculous amounts of money and not the $35,000 a year mayoral job. And I don't fucking care about either one of them. So that's what makes me like dangerous. I don't want their money and I don't want their support. So that's where I come in on this thing. Now that probably makes me unelectable, but that's the issue St. Louis has that I don't know if Indianapolis or Nashville. I don't get that to say that there wasn't money in Nashville, but there was also some new money that wasn't like in this little area of in the midst of 4 roads. That kind of controlled things. This secret society, shadow government. Nicely done. Yeah. So you got that, and then you also have people who are like holding on for dear life because their full-time job is to be the mayor of a 300-person municipality. And you go, what the fuck is this thing? So I don't know. I don't know if we'll have somebody come along and go, yeah, I'm here to win, even though I'm basically telling all of you how much I think that this place is fucked up, and until we change it, we're all fucked. But let's see what we got. Everybody can't go. That's from Manchild 79. He's quoting Benny the Butcher. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear somebody can do their job better than them, but them's the breaks. That's from MD.
I like that term.
2020.
Them's
you like them's the breaks?
Yeah, but them's the breaks. It's like therein lies the rub. You don't really know what it means, but you know what it means.
Yeah. I follow you on that. Let me see. I got a billion emails, and I've only been reading YouTube chats over the last couple of weeks, so let me see what else I got. Let's see. We had a good long exchange, and I don't recall. This one's so long. Let's see about that. Let's see. No, I don't know. It's not going to do any favors because I don't know which ones are which. This was a good one. I remember it's kind of long. It was in response to the TMA State of the Union. But it was also like after the first week of the show. So, I think people kind of see. By the way, I haven't said this, and I didn't want to say it on, it's not that I didn't want to, it just didn't come up organically. The clocks were supposed to change on November 25th. You're aware of that, I believe. And now, and I understand the reasoning, to go into the reasoning, it's not even reasoning, to go into what happened. It's kind of going into the weeds, and I can't just like air everything, but it's not like it's like some shadow government.
Yeah, it's not shadow governance.
Now it's going to be December 9th. And from my standpoint, that is going to be a significant thing. The 4 breaks, I mean, hell, as I've said from the beginning, again, this is for TMA listeners, is one of the biggest, doing TMA now versus doing TMA in here. It's like we have a 4-hour sprint. I don't know how to describe it. I know you're living it, so but I don't know how to like try to convey it to the people who will listen to this podcast. But when we used to do it, if there was something that I wasn't interested in, I'm like, okay, this is going to go on for a few minutes, and I can kind of like detach, for lack of a better term, and exhale. Even though the show's still going, and we had the unique thing once we started at Hubbard with the cameras, that people would mistake if somebody kind of withdraws from the conversation that they're mad.
Right.
But I mean, at the same time, it goes back to what I was just saying. You can't be upset with people for a void of information. And it also would be weird if like, hey, I'm just going to scroll through Instagram here because I don't really care about this. I'm not mad.
Yeah, it would be weird to vocalize.
Yeah, but that's because people are like, oh man, something's wrong with Iggy today. What's he mad about? And he's just like, yeah, I don't really care about what they're talking about, But we also had like 6-7 minute breaks. And so now the breaks are so much shorter. And then this week, because we don't have shows Thursday and Friday, we're doing a lot of more live reads this week than like. So, for example, I think we had, it doesn't matter about the number, but either way, we're jamming them in the first 3 days. Not we, Hubbard. So anyway, we never, and then it's like Jackson will say, okay, we got 3-minute break here. And it's like, that's enough time to piss. Whereas it used to be like a 6.5-7 minute thing. And there'd be times for real, not that anybody will really find this enlightening, but to hope to communicate it to the audience, where I'd be like, okay, I might go piss, might go have my banana and just sit in the conference room, because for me, whatever personality trait this is, I think it's an introverted personality trait. I am energized by being alone, which I believe is one of the traits of being an introvert.
Yeah, I'd say.
So I would just need to go into a room where I know nobody's going to be like, see me and go, oh, hey, like not because I like a Steve Harvey thing where don't talk to Tim, but because I just need time to just have a few minutes to just like breathe.
Solidarity.
For real. That's what it would be. So the conference room early in the morning over here would be one of the places. Our old studio would be another one of those places. And now I never get that time because the breaks are so quick.
Right.
You know, so that's a weird thing. And then, whereas we used to have like a 4-hour plane ride from St. Louis to LA, and we're up in the air, and now we're here, and then we're landing the plane for a segment. Now it's like we got a helicopter ride, and we're Eli Drinkwitz going from St. Louis High to CBC to look at recruits. We're up and we go down. We're up and that's what it is. And so I know it as a host, and I know you know it because you kind of are, you know, even though I'm the host, you have, I think, a more important responsibility than I do.
I'm like a conductor, you know. I'm not the star trumpet player, but I'm up here and I'm just waving my little wand.
You got a lot of stuff to make sure, like the live reads, holding them up so we see them. That it's like it's intense.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't know what it sounds like to the audience, but I know it has to sound different to the audience. And so because I think sometimes, and maybe this is more so in St. Louis than other places, maybe it's not. I don't like to just attach that to St. Louis. But I think we would all agree that St. Louis is more of a, if you grew up here, better chance that you're going to live here the rest of your life than, say, if we were in Dallas or Atlanta or Miami. All right? So with that said, oftentimes if something is different, then it must be bad. And this is different for us. But, you know, Chairman Kurt and I were talking after the show. Chairman Kurt might be in the YouTube chat right now. I don't have it up. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. And he goes, the thing I've noticed the most about it is you're like energized by the show. And I am, because there isn't a segment where I'm going to sit out. At the same time, I don't know if there could be a segment where I would sit out because I'm bringing it in. And it's not like there's going to be 10 minutes where I'm not going to talk because I'm going to have to land it. So once we get to the more elongated segments, for me, I think it will feel more like, but then at the same time, I like what we're doing. I'm more engaged. I'm more stimulated by TMA. For those of you who listen to this podcast, you heard me say the show, and I still probably is actually the show I enjoy doing the most, Tim McKernan Show podcast, because I'm like, I'm engaged. It's like, I don't need to be doing this today. But I'm like, I feel like talking today. I don't want to keep you after tomorrow. We can't do it Thursday or Friday. Let's just go, and we're going to talk essentially like a conversation with the audience who are welcome to participate in the conversation, whether it be via email or via the YouTube chat if they're able to listen or watch live. So that's something that, you know, if you're like, oh, I thought the clock was changing on November 25th, what happened? There is the backstory. But it's just a different, if like we both were saying it before we started the podcast, it's like, and we say it during commercial breaks, like this is different. This is like an intense thing.
Yeah.
And the only intense time I used to have was between reading the email of the day in this studio, brought to you by Seth Goldcamp and Designer Heating and Cooling, and then like getting down the hallway knowing that you were going to be like, okay, we're going in 30 on Balloon Party.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we got starting at 7 a.m. and going all the way until 11. And it's something else. And so to lay it out mathematically for people, I don't think I've done this. I feel like I've done this privately. Stop me if I have, please, for real.
I can't remember.
Okay. So I believe each segment is theoretically 12 minutes. That is correct. No, nice of the host to know that. So if we go, let's just do some math here. If we go 15 minutes from 7 a.m. to 7:15, then now it's like a bank account. Now we're upside down by 3.
Yep.
And the next segment starts. And now the segment can theoretically, not theoretically, literally, be 9 minutes.
Yep.
Well, what if we go 12 minutes on that one now?
Now you owe even more.
Now I owe 6.
Yep.
So then theoretically, and again, I keep using theoretically improperly, now I got 6 minutes for the next segment. And until you catch up,
Yeah. And you
this is like being a kid out of college who got a credit card. That's what it is. And so with Balloon Party, it's like we only have an hour for me to fuck the clock up.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'm just going to like have like the 2-minute segment at the end of the show and go, whatever, that's what we do. Well, when it's 4 hours and you can fuck it up like big time in the 7 and 8 o'clock hour, like we had a show last week, I don't remember which one it was, where we must have had 8 segments in the 10 o'clock hour because we were so
The day we had Frank Opinion on.
Yes, that's when we were already
We were
behind
already late.
going into that. And then when I found out that, because I don't know who the secret guest is today, it was Steve Klein of the Cardinals, formerly the Cardinals. I don't know. And then I hear it's Frank Opinion. I'm like, oh my God. Because I know Frank, and I've talked to Frank on the phone, and I've had Frank on my podcast and in the show. And he's an incredible storyteller, but I know I won't be, I might as well get in the jet because the helicopter ain't going to do. We're going for a while here.
Yeah.
And so that is that part of it, which I would imagine is people are interested in, but I don't know if they are. So anyway, do with that information what you want. Let's see. Sorry for the stale question, but was the cat ever in the running when the show moved, or was it always Martin? No, it was not always Martin at all. That is not the case. On the Martin part, honestly, and I still am kind of thinking this. If I had Martin's, I don't know. I don't know what. I have no idea what Martin's compensation is. I'll wait for the article.
Mm-hmm. Coming soon.
But I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I did it. I did do it. And I wasn't even a main anchor when I was doing it. And he's a main anchor as a sports director, going until 10:30 every night and then turning around and getting up. Can't do it. For me, every night, wearing my Whoop, I actually know. Like last night, I fell asleep at 10. I try to fall asleep around 9:30. Martin has 2 more sportscasts to go by the time I'm trying to fall asleep. And then he's getting, I don't know what time he gets up. I think we're all kind of getting up around the same time. Maybe I get up earlier, but I like that solitude and drinking my coffee and reading, and I'll occasionally be texting with you. So the point being in laying that out is when they were talking about this, I didn't think Martin would want to do it. Something that was talked about, to give you, with regard, and this includes the cat. The cat's issue specific to Hubbard, and I don't think they mind me saying this. I can't imagine they would. I don't think it's saying anything. It's kind of obvious. They don't like when a situation like I mean, you've seen it with the fast lane, for example. Mm-hmm. Brad Thompson starts calling Cardinal games. Initially, they had him kind of taking the whatever Comrex on the road to do shows remotely. But I mean, he's got to get to the ballpark. Jamie Rivers will do, when they were on the road in New York, I think he was doing 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But then he's got to go to the rink.
Yeah.
So Hubbard's big thing is, and we got away with it isn't the right term, but we were working for, I don't know, non-corporate, but I don't even want to say non-corporate. The real world is non-professional, and that includes me when I was operating 920, where it's like, yeah, the cat, you're going to miss, I don't know, 80 to 100 shows per year. Okay, that's just the deal. Well, that isn't the way that the, quote, real world works. They don't go, oh, no problem. You know, they actually go, okay, you have X number of days you can miss, and once you run out, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So if you notice on 101, you don't have people missing a bunch of shows, because the days that I started in radio, which longtime TMA listeners are used to, you had me doing TV at the time, the cat doing TV at the time, Martin doing TV at the time, then eventually Doug doing TV at the time. You had Frank Cusimano following us doing TV at the time. The midday shows would flop around, but Charlie did midday shows. He was doing TV at the time. Rennie Knott was doing TV at the time. The person who would do afternoon drive was the person who wasn't doing TV, and that was a variety of people over the course of the years. But the people who were at the time considered, quote, recognizable were recognizable because either they're Post-Dispatch jobs or television jobs. And as time has gone on, that isn't necessarily important at all or as important. Sure. Because how many people in your age range are subscribing to the Post-Dispatch or watching local news?
Yeah, very, very few.
Right. And so that is the reason. But the cat's main job is what is now FanDuel Sports Midwest, I believe is what it's called. And so that was not going to work. Now, one of the things that we were talking about when, and this was something that Hubbard honestly was never on board with. I liked it. Doug liked it. Jackson liked it as an idea, because Charlie, who we were also interested in, but has this successful podcast thing going with this auto racing thing. And me and Martin both go, yeah, he's got to go. We just don't really understand it, but we know it's killing it. And we talked to him. Well, I talked to him. And Tommy talked to him. And he's like, yeah, because I'd be interested in doing it, but maybe like a day or two a week. And then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, what if Martin only wanted to do like a day or two a week, and then the cat could maybe do a day or two a week, and then like Wellington could do a day or two a week, and gluten-free Perk could do a day or two a week. And then if you got like the core of, you know, the TMA people, including Iggy, then that's how we can do this.
Rotate it up.
And yeah, I called it the rotation for the period of time when, and it just was something that they were not on board with. And the reasoning was not because they're bad people. The reasoning was you want to build a show and you want and you need consistency. That was the position, in part for advertisers, which is, when it's all said and done, the name of the game. Now, I think if like I owned KFNS, for example, and this were in play, I would have done that. I individually would have done that in a heartbeat, and we just would have figured it out, and would have paid a person, you know, X dollars per show if everybody was on board with it. Because if Martin's like, yeah, I'd like to do it, but God, with doing TV, I can't do every single night. And Charlie's like, yeah, I do not want to do 5 days. Because for him, a big thing for him and his wife works and has a really good job, I think, that for him, carpool, you know, that's why Martin makes the joke about him and Charlie and carpool, was a big thing. So he needed that. And he didn't want to, you know, put that on his wife. That was a big thing for him. The cat misses time with being on the road, but then at this time of the year, he doesn't miss time. Wellington misses time for caddying. Yeah. You know, gluten-free Perk, while I think she's got a lot of potential, she's still only done like 3 shows, so who knows, you know. I feel like there are others that we talked about in our rotation, but those are ones I'm comfortable naming. Yeah. But either way, I mean, you get an idea of it. So anyway, I hope that answers the question. So anyway, there's some background. All right, Jackson. People can send in emails, tmckernan at InsideSTL.com. I welcome you to email in anytime you would like. And what did we wind up doing? About an hour?
What did we do here? We went, a little over an hour.
Oh, that's not bad. And I feel like it was a short one.
Definitely. Well, we've had some.
I know, but I'm like, yeah, I'm landing the plane.
Have you fired up a Christmas Vacation anytime so far this year?
I have not.
Yeah, I would recommend that, certainly. It's on HBO Max.
Oh, yeah. I'm of the opinion that the scene with Randy Quaid and Chevy Chase in the living room is up there with the Godfather baptism scene.
When he's freaking out?
No. When they're enjoying some nog together.
Really good. Is that where he's...
I think I pissed myself when I saw that in the theater at Crestwood Plaza.
Is that where he's... No, that's the sledding scene where he says, they replaced the metal part of my head.
That's what he's talking about. How are the kids? Well, you know, whatever's barking for the yak lady, and he's pregnant.
Well, she got kicked in the face by a donkey, and now her eyes are crossed.
I think that was Vacation. Or that was when they showed up at the...
Well, she had no tongue when they were in Vacation. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yes, little Ruby Sue, I believe was her name.
Ruby Sue. He says, whenever my wife would turn on the microwave, I'd forget my name and piss myself because he had a metal thing in his head. Cousin Eddie.
All-timer. Yes, that puts me in a good place.
That and PTA, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is like the Thanksgiving movie.
I agree.
Not that
there aren't a lot of Thanksgiving movies, and I love that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I now love the holiday. The only thing, if I could can we just be at one spot? Yeah. That's all I'm asking.
You just want to be at Clark's.
But then Doug goes, well, you know, and then I'm like,
yeah, he's always fucking it up with his wisdom.
I know. I'm telling you. And it's not preachy. It's like he's in the conversation. Subtle. He's like, it's probably more me, you, and Martin talking before a show. But then Doug might just and then he'll just fire the silver bullet of knowledge.
Understated wisdom.
Because the guy preaching, we kind of go, okay, fuck off. What do you
got to
like
gain
if Doug
here?
were like, I'll tell you another thing, and be like, oh. So it's just like, it's Edgar Renteria. Oh, yes, Edgar, you speak English. You've been here for 5 years. I had no idea. You know why you lost? No, I don't. Because you gambled. And you're just like, oh. Edgar Renteria, now I get why he's El Presidente, you know? That's what they called him, El Presidente. I also now know I can ask him questions after the game, so he's revealed himself.
He still might speak Spanish.
Yeah, where he no habla inglés. That's, I'm like, I'm like, how is this guy the team captain? He can't talk. Son of a bitch. Yeah, he's been playing. The team captains were Matheny, Kyle, and Renteria. none of those guys really did a whole lot of interviews. Or if Kyle did an interview, it was Bull Durham season.
Right. Like you can't imagine the Matheny Renteria podcast.
Oh my God. But they'd be like, oh, Kyle's the captain. I'm like, the guy who like doesn't really, they're like, oh, he's the funniest motherfucker. And I'd be like, okay, I guess when you guys close these doors, and that's the truth, that's the thing. When you close these doors, these guys are different cats. All right, Jackson, that's an hour of QFTA. Thank you to James Carlton, the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Thank you to Mark Hanna, Evergreen Wealth Strategies, online at evergreenstl.com. Thank you to Jamie Burkhardt and Peter Munganest and Ryan Seiberg. Munganest St. Louis Acura, Munganest Burkhardt on Toyota, Seth Goldcamp Design, Air Heating and Cooling. For Jackson, Bennett Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Tim McKernan Show podcast.